Okay, so this video is going to be. It's something I wanted to do. I just realized my mic is hooked too far down. Whoops. No, actually, no, it's not. Okay. So this video I was gonna do just as a way to get. I'm gonna cut this down in the end, but not game rules. We're just gonna get some stuff going. So, this is going to be about sort of how I grew up. I'm gonna talk, and to represent some things, I'm gonna use this. I will cut this down, probably make a version for TikTok. But just so you can understand sort of where I come from. And I guess what it's like. I guess sort of who I am is the best way to describe it. You will very quickly see what I am making. But basically, let me just talk about it this way. When I was while I get some of this stuff set up, I will actually while I just do this, basically I'm gonna get some things. When I was when I was when I was first off, I'm sorry, I'm fucking struggling to speak and find my thoughts. I was born on April 1st, 2008. I know, April 1st, April Fool's Day. So I am 16. I am a couple weeks over 16. Obviously I turned 16 this year. I was born, I'm not going to say where I was born, but I was born in the Midwest, I think, if I remember geography correctly. I was born in a place that, from what I can remember, was like an old church type building turned into apartments. Growing up, I really loved Toy Story. I was fucking obsessed with that. So couldn't remember. Oh, excuse me. But growing up, I lived with my mom and my dad and my sister. My sister is 3 years older than me. She was born. You may, if you've watched some of my other streams, especially on my birthday when I did my Elden Ring stream. My sister's, we just call her Liz, or I call her Kaylee, but she was born on November 10th, 2005. So she is 3 years older than me. She's 18 right now. She turns 19, obviously, next November. Growing up, we were not that good of friends. That eventually that was mostly just because we were we were just really separate. I really liked Toy Story. She didn't. I'm not gonna go over everything that has happened. I'll go over the important stuff. When I was 2, so basically just lived my Toy Story 11 life. Quick little funny note that I always remember that my mom insisted never happened. We didn't really have corners in our house that were out of sight from my mom. Now my mom was a stay-at-home mom, 2 kids. We're both autistic, but we didn't get tested. Well, we know we're autistic but basically we didn't really figure it was the main thing. My dad didn't really believe in people being autistic. My dad's always been like that. He doesn't believe in like autism and that shit. It's always got to be ADD or ADHD, the basic shit. He doesn't believe in anything past he even down to like sexuality. He doesn't believe to anything past bisexual, lesbian, gay. That's always how it's been. But basically, my dad was always basically I just lived my life and down to when I was little, I I was, I really like Toy Story. I'm sorry, I'm repeating, but when I was 2, my mom and my dad got a divorce. I didn't know what was going on at the time, but my dad moved. We had gone to a couple houses that I don't remember. I mainly remember a specific apartment, which is where I was going right as I started preschool. That's where we lived. My dad had divorced my mom at that point. He lived about an hour and a half away, I'll say. Preschool was pretty normal. I met one kid that was kind of my only friend for a while. His name was Logan. We didn't really talk after that. He kind of made fun of me going through school. And in those apartments, when I was little, when I got to my first couple of years of elementary school, I met this kid named Arton. He was heavier like I was, so we immediately got along really nice. I don't talk to him anymore either, but he was just kind of, after Logan and I sort of like went our separate ways in school, Arton was my only friend, really. When I, eventually, I was in 4th grade, and I went all the way through 3rd grade in those apartments. Nothing really special happened. I found the first girl I ever liked. Her name was Maddie. I asked her out in a really shy way, but really weird way, which is probably when we should have noticed a lot of things about me, including my severe anxiety, because I suffer from anxiety. That is why you will notice I don't really post often. And when I do post, it is because I am having a good day. I will get more around that to when I'm telling this story when I'm older. But basically went through school all the way up into 3rd grade. I think 3rd grade is when I actually formed this crush. We ended up moving because we hated the, I guess, landlord of our apartments. We moved to another apartment in this town, which was special to us because my sister was going into middle school, and it was right across the street from the middle school. I was in 4th grade at the time. This is when I met the next significant people. I actually reconnected with someone from elementary school that I didn't really have a good relationship with because we were always kind of separate. His name was Ben. I saw him the first day I was going to this new school, which really made me feel better. And then I got in class, and now mind you, I was the only kid in class other than Ben who had glasses, which was really important because it gave him, he didn't feel like a standalone in this group. I've had glasses since 2nd grade. My eyesight's always been really bad. And it came when I was in 2nd grade, and we were doing math, and I was like, my teacher's like, why aren't you doing your work? I'm like, I can't fucking see it. I didn't obviously say that. I was just like, I can't see it. We really thought I had something wrong with me because I could not sit fucking still at all throughout any of school, down to the fact that I was always crossing and uncrossing my legs. And actually, I use fidget pens. I use fidget pens to spin just so I'd stop moving around. But in 4th grade, not only did I meet Ben again, I met a couple new people. I met this kid named Kale. He was short. I will admit, I did make fun of him a lot, but it was sort of just because I was trying to act like the kids, I guess, that made fun of me for being heavier. I'm not going to say fat, because I know people who are way fatter than me. No offense to them, but I'm not, like, morbidly obese. I'm morbidly obese is what I am. But then I also met some of his friends, like this kid Noah, and a couple other people that I don't really remember the name of. One of the kids' names was Orlando. He was pretty chill. And also this girl Taylor, who I sort of had a crush on, but not really. It was confusing. I more went towards these other girls who I don't know, just kind of what caught my eye, but always ended up getting made fun of because of the fact that I was heavier. I also met this kid named Freddie. He will come along way, way, way later. About actually really close to where I am now. About a year before now. I went through 4th grade and 5th grade, and this is when as far back as I can remember, me doing stuff that should have set off signals for something to come later on. But going through 4th and 5th grade, I was alright. I ended up actually reading an 80 chapter book in 4th grade called The Wild Robot. Yeah, the chapters weren't very long, but it was past my reading level because I'm not very smart. I don't pay attention a lot to read books unless they are interesting to me, which is why I'm currently mentioning House of Leaves, which I plan to cover my experience reading and my thoughts on it on the Book of Shades channel, which is a channel you guys don't have yet to see. I basically just went through 4th and 5th grade with flying colors. In 6th grade, though, was 2019, which may ring bells for you guys. 2019, 2020. 2019, 2020. Still living in those apartments. It was my first experience doing something that I joined band, which is crazy. Especially because a lot of the people that I talk to now know me for my voice. Because my voice is unique and is bendable. This was the only year I did band, by the way. 7th grade was different. So I was in band. I played trumpet. And I couldn't hold notes. I was constantly my teacher wasn't yelling at me, but it was like passive aggressively being like, yeah, you need to work a little better. That's sort of the first sign we saw of my asthma, which is why if I talk like this and you'll hear me fucking breathe like that, I have asthma. Pretty bad. Doesn't help that my ribs are all fucked up. We'll get around to that. Actually, I should get around to that now. When I was in 4th grade, I was hit by a car. It was an older lady, and because of that, the police report made me sound stupid. I'm doing this shit out of order, but sort of. I just completely forgot about it. She was speeding in a school zone, but because she was older, the police report said I ran into her car. I fractured my right ankle, which actually we later found out as I grew caused my right leg to be shorter by a little bit. I now permanently walk with a limp, and my entire right leg fucks up sometimes. Especially because in 5th grade, I fell on ice and busted my fucking knee open. I had to get 3 stitches in my knee. I was a stupid fucking kid. But going back to 6th grade, went through that. I did an archery unit, which I don't know why the fuck they decided to give a bunch of middle schoolers bows and arrows. Actual, compound bows and arrows. I don't know what the fuck crack they were smoking, or smoke they were cracking, but I went through 6th grade with flying colors all until COVID hit. I was in 6th grade when COVID hit, and to make it even fucking worse, we got mold in our apartment. Me and my sister shared a room up until I was in 8th grade. And she, I think, had a bottle of her perfume spilled and caused mold. The apartments we lived in weren't very high quality. They decided to just try and paint over it, which is when we decided we should move out. So we moved to another town, about 30 minutes away from that town. Which, by the way, my dad had moved to that town to be close to us, and I'm starting to think the reason we moved over towns is because our mom wanted not only a fresh start. By the way, my stepdad's in the picture, but he wasn't really doing a whole bunch. I'll talk more about him getting to my 2 years of high school so far, because that's when and 8th grade, because that's when we really that's when he became super duper important. I'll mention a couple of other. I'm not mentioning everything. I'm not going to mention every birthday. I will mention that one of my birthdays, I don't remember which one, was a Super Mario themed birthday. I'm just going to throw that in there. But that had my stepdad and my sister working to play for it a lot. We also got locked in our fucking room by my mom's best friend's son. His name is Skylar. He locked us in our, me, his sister, my sister, and me and my sister's cousin Brianna in the room. Brianna is kind of someone that I also didn't really get along with growing up, but as we got older, because we were very close in age, separated by just a couple of months, she was in November of 2007. I was in April of 2008. So, we got locked in the room. We ended up getting let out. Anyway, so in 7th grade, I decided to join choir. Because at this point, I thought it would be easier. Because I didn't do good in band. It was difficult because it was mixing between online schooling and in-person, so I couldn't really get into a flow of school. Plus, we had to wear masks, which made things harder on my asthma, which I had not yet, I don't think, been diagnosed with at the time. Going later into the year, I met a couple important people here. I will say their names. Robert, who stayed my friend all the way up until about 9th grade. We fell off in 9th grade. I also briefly met Luna, who will kind of come back in my high school things. Something happened with her in 8th grade. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to have a mental breakdown on camera. I also met Matthew, who, actually, this is our first appearance. I'm going to get this set up for when we get to 8th grade. So, this is where Matthew comes in. Can I give myself barrier blocks? Anyway, yeah, so... Don't worry. So basically, I went through 7th grade as best I could. They kind of gave kids breaks because of the fact that there was not a whole lot going on. And so I met Matthew. And Matthew, like I said, comes back in 8th grade. So like I said, went through 7th grade, best I could, didn't do too bad. Found out I really had a thing for animals. When we got to dissecting unit, I just couldn't do it. Also, at this time, should mention, in 6th grade, we had 2 cats. Or we had gotten 2 cats around 6th and 7th grade. Ruby, who is now kind of my cat, she's my emotional support animal. She is a bitch to anybody but me. That's because I used to be scared of her, because I was a little bitch. I am no longer a little bitch, because I have trauma. And then there's Wilbur, who I referred to as fat fuck. Actually, everybody refers to him as fat fuck. But the truth is, I've seen fatter fucking cats. He's just really heavy, and he eats most of the food. But me too, to be honest. I do eat a lot of the food. Also, I used to cook a lot of pancakes during online schooling. But 8th grade is when I sort of got into more teenager-ish things. This is also sort of when I started realizing more things. At this point, I had already been actually fully diagnosed with asthma, so I had an inhaler with me. It made things difficult, like gym, and I actually really hated my teacher, and ended up getting suspended by that teacher after another incident. I'll speak about that, because basically, I dated this girl named Luna a little bit. Not going to go too much into that until 9th grade. Then I dated this trans girl, female to male, named Max. That didn't go so well. Was very short because they left me to date this other girl named Angel, whose real name was Makota. Then I met, in that year, I also met this other female to male trans person named Tyler. They will come back also later. They ended up moving away when I went into 9th grade. But in 8th grade, I was approached by this other trans kid. I know a lot of trans people, to be honest. I also dated, I met this one kid, Wyatt. He's pretty cool. I haven't really talked to him much recently, but that's just because I haven't been talking to anybody, really. At his birthday party, I met my first actual, like, proper-ish girlfriend. Her name was Haley. Um, she sort of just didn't like me, but that's when her friend, Olivia, started to kind of gain feelings to me. That year, I also slightly dated this person named Peyton, but they ended up just not liking me anymore. Also, Olivia started to gain more feelings, but Olivia was a year younger than me, and I didn't know how to feel about that. I proceeded to then, you know, I was approached one day in the hall at the beginning of school by this girl, Len, whose real name was Kitana, Kitana. He approached me and was like, they were trans, and he approached me and was like, so, this one guy has not been saying some very cool things. And I was like, well, what the fuck is he saying? And they're like, he has been threatening to shoot up the school and do unspeakable things to children. And I was like, what the fuck? That's not how I wanted to start my morning. They're like, listen, what we're saying is, I was like, what the fuck does this have to do with me? And they're like, you are a big fucking kid. I was like, okay. And they're like, could you kindly send a message by beating the shit out of this man? And me just wanting to be a good person and get someone to stop doing these bad things, I did it. After school, with Robert behind me, this is another thing. Robert can vouch that I said this if I ever get to talk to him again. I said probably the coldest line an 8th grader could say. I hand my phone, a Samsung Galaxy Note 10, to Robert and say, hold my phone. I proceed to walk up, pin this kid to the wall, and threaten him in front of everybody as the buses are waiting. He basically was fucking in fear because he walked through the halls like an absolute Chad, and it was like, oh my god, he's so fucking hot. But he was also kind of a dick. I'm gonna turn my mic down. It's like peaking. But he was kind of a dick. He was scared of me. Still kind of is scared of me. The last time I checked. I also met Ethan and shit, and some of these other people. I'll mention them more. I was like, they were like, good job. You stopped someone from doing a bad thing. And that was basic until it happened again, like a day later. And then the gym teacher stopped us and made me, and it looked like I was the bad person, even though the teacher didn't know what he was saying. What Marcus had been saying. And so I got actually told I had to go to the office the next day. Went into the office, told them what they were saying. They're like, I mean, okay, you shouldn't have done. I got called out of the office during homeroom, and they're like, shouldn't have done that, but okay, whatever. They actually end up sending police to investigate his house, make sure he didn't have access to the things he needed in order to do the things he said he was going to do. Going back to homeroom, this is when I really got into a good, like, finally met a teacher that actually liked me. His name was Mr. Stingley. And he's like, I would rather you stand up for the entire school and do something that isn't really considered okay than all of us get shot. Because remember, this kid threatened to shoot up the school. That made me feel a little better about it, but I knew what I did was wrong. My mom was like, I get where you were coming from. This is when we really found out I had really bad anger issues. I was actually put on fluoxetine, but we found out that the fluoxetine was making me not as depressed, but it was making me more pissed off. I mentioned this to my doctor, and they're like, probably shouldn't have you on fluoxetine then. So I was just not taking it, and we really I didn't want to go back on meds because I just stopped taking my meds. Going to 9th grade, this is where I really finally got into friend terms with Matthew K. Willis. I won't say what the K stands for because I don't want to give his full name out. He introduced me to something that sort of saved my life in a way. Matthew soon became one of my best friends alongside Ethan Rigo. I love Ethan. I don't talk to him a lot, but Ethan was cool. He was very cool. I played Fortnite with him a little bit ago, but Matthew is. I actually used to make videos with Matthew. Matthew sort of helped me through a lot of shit. I actually messaged him earlier last night and basically was like, "Hey, I just said sorry because I was a complete dick to him." But in ninth grade, I ended up deciding to make the. Well, first off, Matthew introduced me to music, specifically one band. He introduced me to Metallica, which, as of the time I am recording this video, I am wearing a Metallica shirt. This band affected me seriously, like fully. So I'll send that out to him. He also is the one who got me into playing guitar and just metal music in general. That was really all for the first half of ninth grade. Had a really bad time and decided to end up moving with my dad, hoping it would give me a better start. This is where someone comes into play that I never thought would come into play. This is where Freddie comes into play, that kid I mentioned from 4th, 5th grade. I shared my love of metal music with him, and he soon became very, he kind of became addicted to it. He's like, oh my fucking god, this music is good. How did I not hear about this later? I also reconnected with a bunch of other people like Kale and also Michael, who was from 6th grade. I didn't really know him back then. And a couple other people, including this kid named Griffin, who used to make fun of me. I grew a lot. At this time, I was already over 6 feet tall. I still am. Duh, because I didn't shrink like a fucking dwarf. But 9th grade was crazy. I met this boy, or non-binary person, named Chris. I ended up dating them in 10th grade because after they got their own phone, because they had a phone that their parents didn't let them have at home. So I sort of had a crush on a couple of girls. Briefly dated this girl named Angel from earlier, the same girl from earlier, Makota. That didn't go well because they kind of, from what I can tell, left after their ex-boyfriend, who I was friends with, was bitching when he found out we were together. And so she just felt bad for his sorry ass. I am coming for you, Blake. By the way, Blake's a bad person. I won't say what he did, but he's a bad person. Also, he's now dating my twig of an ex-girlfriend, Lily. I don't know what fucking crack I was smoking to date her, but I fucked up big time. I also redated Max a couple of times. Didn't go the best. So, yeah, that happened. I'm just going over my brief, in my area relationships. Eventually, when I was still living with my dad, though, well, actually, before I say that part, I was enrolled in summer school for the 9th grade, because I was doing real bad. I was in a really bad mental health place, and this is also where we finally got me. We went to go do ADHD and ADD testing, and they were basically like, he doesn't have either. He has something worse. He has what is called dysthymia. Now, dysthymia is the best I can describe it, is a hyperdepressive disorder. My depressive is basically in full swing, 25/8, 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. Shit doesn't go away. And I was also on top of that diagnosed with juvenile defiance disorder, which is basically just me not giving a fuck about what the grown-ups had to say, because that's just who I was. Didn't do my work, didn't listen to teachers. I basically said fuck it, 9th grade. I got through one day of 9th grade summer school before my dad started yelling at me for something I didn't do. But the reason he started yelling at me is simply because out of the person who was saying this bad shit about me was a woman. And he is extremely against, he does not really, he's sexist, but it's a little harder to explain. He doesn't like women, but he will defend them if something bad happens to them. So his son, who he knows was a good kid, for the most part, tried to be a good kid. I tried to be a good kid. Started yelling at me, causing me to break down, not even asking for my side of the story. This is when my sister finally started to really be like, oh my god. My sister was there and was like, you are scaring him, but didn't say anything because she was scared of my dad. I, that same day, texted my mom and said, I think I need to go to a mental hospital. She picked me up for her weekend, and we drove a while away. We drove a couple hours away to a facility, and I spent 4 days there just working on myself. And I came out quite a bit better. I still have my issues, but I came out better for the most part. They finally got me on the right meds. I am now taking, I don't remember what this, I'm taking these pills called sertraline. They're like a super, I guess, like, think of the Pornhub Premium of antidepressants. That's sort of what I'm on right now. I'm also on painkillers for my fucking back. I got a fucked up back. I got gamer posture. I'm built like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Also around this time, after getting out of the mental hospital, we went to go pick my sister up from work. And this is where something comes in. While sitting in the parking lot, waiting for my sister to get off work, I did the unspeakable. This is where I'm probably going to get absolutely pissed on by everybody. I came out. Hold on. It's taken me a minute. I came out as pansexual. I started to realize after my relationships with Tyler, I mentioned them earlier, they were like, so you are okay with dating a trans person? I'm like, yeah, I'll date. I was like, yeah, I'm bisexual. And they're like, okay. And then that's when they introduced me to, like, the Pornhub Premium of gay. I use the Pornhub Premium of blank as a describer for a lot of things, because it's my sort of my, like, it's my comedic value. They're like, so but you would date you're bi, but you would try to date a trans person? I'm like, yeah. They're like, that's called being pansexual. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And they're like, the best way they described it was, bisexual means you date men and women, but does not include anything other than that. Pansexual means you'll date men, trans women, non-binary. The entire spectrum. I was like, oh, okay, so I officially came out as pan. I then got lectured by my dad about this shit because he said it didn't exist. To which I simply said, fuck you, and considered myself pan anyway. And I still do to this day. Which, when I came out, I actually originally told my sister I thought I was gay. And then I simply that day was like, I don't think I'm gay. And she's like, oh, okay. And then this happened. And she's like, so you finally found what you were. I was like, I did. I don't really date a lot of dudes. I do have crushes on some dudes, but that's just sort of because I feel I'm still getting back into that zone because I don't talk to a lot of people, and I was always under it has to be women because I was living with my dad, especially since I moved 4 hours away from my mother. 4 hours up north, and ended up going to this smaller country school. I had to ride the bus to school for the first time. Very awkward thing. I actually was. I fully went into choir, was really good at it, was like the only bass guy. I also did choir in ninth grade. We did Smash Bros. Competitions after we got our concerts done. That's not important though. Um, Essentially, I went into choir fully, really got into music, like trying to make my own music. Also, really got into content creation because I finally had my own room to do so. And my computer wasn't set up in a fucking closet. I was not a closet gremlin anymore. Um, my dad used to really, really be against me being pansexual, my stepdad being black. At this time, my stepdad hadn't actually, I don't think. No, my stepdad had left our family. Um, I still sort of talk to him, not a whole lot. He's in a relationship with this woman, about to have a kid, but um, he also really got me into like some forms of rap. He's the one that was able to take me away from stuff when it became a little too much. My mom was going through sort of like finding someone to love again, not like marry again, but just to have to love. And she was breaking down a lot. It became too much for me. So he was just there to sort of take me away. He took me away and was able, not like that sort of took me away, but was able to take me away for a little bit to relieve and just let go. So that was nice. Um, I ended up going back to my mom's town after I called the cops on my dad for I don't even remember what reason. Um, After he had like yelled at me, we went to go get like a therapy thing set up, and he had made fun of me being pan straight to the therapy people's faces, which wasn't okay. But I called the cops on him and was taken back to my mom's, which is where I am now. I'm at my mom's. I briefly went back to my old high school, the first high school I went to, until my ex Luna showed up, and I have bad memories. Saw her, what got out of my last relationship with this kid named with that boy named Max, and just decided I couldn't do it anymore. I was I told my mom I don't want to go to school anymore. She asked me what was going on, and I told her everything, because I am now very close with my mom. I told her everything, and she kind of just agreed with it. And eventually, my dad had brought my computer down here because I was like, I want my computer so I can actually do stuff. That's when I started content creation fully. Throat's getting fucking dry just talking this much. Officially started content creation. I am where I am now. And shit has been insane ever fucking since, by the way. But essentially, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for, people like Matt, Robert, my teacher, Mr. Stingley, fucking Kale, Wyatt, my mom, my sister, my stepdad. It wouldn't be without those people. I wouldn't be here. I would be probably sitting, not in a fucking. I probably would have had a closed casket funeral because my head would have been already too fucking. Whether I had blown my brains out or not, my face would have been too ugly to look at. But I probably would be dead. I would most definitely have jumped out of a fucking window or like ran into oncoming traffic on purpose. But now I just sort of am where I am now, and I'm trying my best to keep the voices out of my head and live my fucking life and do it the way I want to. which ended up with me sitting here in Minecraft with 4 things on my fucking screen. Because guess what? I run this show. I can do what I want. And you cannot stop me. Ever. But that's what my life is like. My life is very fucking messy and all over the place. I've dealt with just about everything a fucking 16-year-old boy could that could fuck him up this badly. Homophobia, racism, sexism, accusations, mold, constant moving, no fucking friends, being a fat fuck who is just an enjoyer of food. In fact, I am the fucking the meal mage, if you will. The fucking beef barbarian. You know, the fucking the plate pursuer. You know, all that shit. I'm trying to think of another good food pun. Another good, like, food warrior. Shit, I can't think of one. Shit, I can't think of one. But basically, that's just how my life is. Summed up in a 41-minute video. Fuck me. I'm sorry I yapped for that fucking long. This probably won't go up on TikTok. If anything, I'll make a shorter video for that. Anyway, that was the rant that is my life story up until this point. And I really hope I can make an update video on this next year. And the year after that, and the years to come after that, until I am dead. And this chair sits empty. But until those days, and since because I have finally come up with a proper intro. This has been the Disowned Shadow, and I will see you in the Shadow Realm.